Welcome to ITSM Worldwide. I'm Matt Hooper, and I'm here with Suresh GP, Kirsty McGowan,
Hiya,
and David Mainville. David, good to see you.
Good to see you.
We are live from Fusion 14 for our first episode of ITSM Worldwide. We're hoping to have these as a regular podcast and a regular video series so that we can share a lot of information about what's going on in the ITSM industry with everybody from all parts of the globe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So today we're proud to have Naevia with us, and David Mainville is one of its co-founders and CEO. You've been rocking it, David. You have absolutely been tearing up the ITSM scene. There is not an ITSM conference even related to ITSM that you have not been at. Dragging that honking booth around with you.
Well, you know what? If you knew us from the past, those who've been following us for a while, one of our earlier booths had a tent associated with it.
That's right.
Oh, really?
We really cut down on.
I never saw that.
Yeah,
one.
they were the Sherpas.
That's when we were the Sherpas,
Yeah.
and we really cut down on travel costs because we got to sleep in that tent at the same time. But that's another time.
That's when you were pinching pennies.
Exactly.
But now you guys are on top, and the Naevia product looks fantastic.
Oh, thanks for saying it.
Yeah.
It's been a really exciting ride. You know, when we started Naevia 15 years ago, it was formerly known as Consulting Portal.
Right.
And the Naevia product was meant to be a consulting portal to help folks better implement service management using tools and templates combined with their expertise and their knowledge. Now, it didn't quite get off the ground as early as we would have liked, but after a lot of years of doing real consulting work, we were able to take that knowledge and the money we made and reinvested it back into the company to basically produce the Naevia product. So it's exciting to see the baby come to life.
Yeah. So I was at your presentation this morning. It was pretty well a full house. You had a great audience there.
Yeah, and I tell you, I'm a shy person.
Yeah? No, you certainly don't come across a shy person.
I was so stressed out going into that presentation. And I don't mind saying it because I think, public speaking is one of the, one of the number one fears of people.
Absolutely.
And, you want to do a good job and you want to hold people's attention. So I think it went pretty good.
No, it did.
Thank you.
From an audience point of view, it did. It went really well.
Thanks.
I enjoyed it.
And I think partly what helps is when you talk about something you're passionate about. And the topic this morning was sustainable service management. And one of the things is you're only going to get value out of doing this stuff if you sustain it. If you actually make it part of your practice. Yeah. And I think that's what I was trying to convey this morning, that you have to take the human element into consideration. It's not only as much as we all love our tools and our documents and our frameworks, it's really the human element that's going to make it successful.
Yeah, my CEO says it well. He goes, service management isn't a way, it's not a discipline that you have to learn. It's a way of life you have to adopt.
Yeah,
exactly.
When you just do the activities you're supposed to do because now you believe and understand what those activities do, it fundamentally changes a lot of things.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about your product, and we, full disclosure, ISM is looking at your product and we're thinking of buying it. What my team has been blown away by is just how much you guys have really put into the integration of process thought. And I've been giving that a lot of thought myself lately, just how many times I have, as a consultant, made the mistake of engineering incident management or engineering change management.
Yes.
Yeah, and there really is so much data that needs shipped back and forth. Your product really highlights that. The RACI changes, for instance. If you change it in one process, it flows into all the others. And so, is this a guest appearance by Mr. Stephen Mann? You can't come on here and not say hi to the audience, Stephen. So it's we are live on the Fusion floor here. So when you just make that one RACI change, how many other places that role is associated?
Yeah. Well, there was one of the things we wanted to engineer in the product from the get-go was the ability to have all of the documentation interrelated.
Yeah.
And it started on a Visio diagram with something we called the donut diagrams.
Yeah.
So we had these little things looking like donuts, and it would show your enterprise, and it would show your enterprise's processes, and then within a process, all the activities and tasks, and then the connections back to the other processes. So visually, even when we were doing consulting using Visio and paper, that was the way we envisioned it. So when we built the Naevia product, it was really important for us to bring that in. So when we built it, if you make one change somewhere, like to the name of a role, it propagates through the whole system. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about updating different artifacts.
Since you've shown this to my team in their beta, they are dreading going back to Excel and Word docs.
Well, you talked about, and I was very impressed with what I seen on the Fritz framework. And one of the things I really got is when I was talking to your team, how much we shared a similar philosophy.
Yes.
And that's the point. Naevia was built by consultants for consultants. And you really see that in the product. And it's so gratifying to have your team come up. And then we start talking about it and we all get kind of excited about it. And we're actually, communicating in a similar language.
I think that brings a great point because it's a kind of fusion. You get your competition, but then you understand what people are talking about in terms of trends, and you draw a comparison to learn their best practice from each other. But what's been your response in terms of the audience when they come and talk to you? What's the trend looking like? There's so much of products and stuff like that.
Are you talking specifically on this conference?
Yes.
Or?
Well,
I've been doing nothing but giving demos of the product nonstop. So, but I can talk about trends from another aspect. I think a lot of things that I'm seeing from a trend perspective is there's been a trend to move towards this. I don't think it's a good trend, by the way, to move towards lift and shift and get things done quickly. I think there's a lot of time pressure on people these days. And they're looking to save time, but I think they're looking to save time in the wrong places because it ends up costing them more time in the long run. So, with the Naevia product, we were trying to save them time on your documentation, on building stuff, from templates. But I think what I'm seeing people do is, we have this process here that's been failing for all these years. We have a new tool we want to implement. Should we re-engineer the process? No, let's just take the old one and put it over. Do you think that gets you anywhere?
No, look, I've been working with a customer over the last little while, and they told me that they bought ITIL 2 years ago and it didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just...
And how much did they pay for ITIL back then? Because it's so much more expensive now.
They paid an awful lot for it back then. I'd love to find the consultant that actually sold them ITIL and slept them, but...
I see that time and again. I was in a round table yesterday with the HDI team, and a gentleman was talking about how he had just purchased ServiceNow, was deploying incident, problem, and what was that? No, it wasn't change. It was incident, problem, and request.
Right. Yep.
And I said to myself, incident request I kind of get. Those are foundational processes. But problem management is not a foundational process. And if you don't have change and config in the game, how do you even... I keep telling people you have the small buckets of easy fix stuff, and you create a big bucket of other stuff.
That you cascade.
So I asked him straight up. I said, "Is your problem management queue going up or down?" And of course, it was going up.
He
goes, "Well, it's continuing to increase, but we think that's going to change." Like, what possibly would make you think that's going to change? You have no correlation for systemic root cause and getting those things out of the queue. But you know what? I blame consultants. And I blame academics who've never practiced and are up either just reading the books and reading what other people say. Well, that sounds great. It does sound great. It sounds great to have a bucket where you can stick your really tough issues so we're not distracted with the day-to-day operations.
Hey, if you could implement only 2 processes, what would they be?
Me?
Yeah.
Release management and config management.
That makes a big difference.
I would say change in configuration management being the primary. And configuration management is what people don't start with. And I'm surprised. How do you start incident management if you don't have your CMDB in place? People think that I need to build robust CMDB. No, you can start simple.
You can start simple.
I would do config, but if you're going to do config, you've got to do change as well. Because if you don't manage your change, then your CMDB's out of date in 5 minutes.
But here's why I say release. Okay, because I'm one of these freaks that kind of believes in continuous release and agile, right? Is DevOps is if my config is solid and I release it and I do have an impact, I'll know how to fix it fast. Whereas anything else, I'm always going to take. It's going to take time. I'll be challenged. If you said if I only had 2, because change alone, if I just have a great change process, but my release is not reciprocating back into the config, if it's not reciprocating back into the quality, or it's not giving me access into what I'm actually changing at the end of the day, if it's just a governance process, then I'm still stifled. That's the only reason why I would say that.
Coming to the point that why ITIL lacks in terms of the prescriptive guidance. People read the books. I know a lot of people read this core volumes and say, no, it has to be done this way. People get lost there because people take their own ways to do that. And part of the problem is there's no prescriptive guidance in terms of doing things the right way. And I think people are getting lost.
Absolutely. I think it just becomes too academic.
There's so many people out there with ITIL Foundation training who go back to work and think they can pick up this ITIL Foundation training and actually do something with it. But really all it's given them is a common language.
That's really
It
all.
hasn't really given them the tools that they need to make a difference in the business.
Very good point.
Give them awareness of what was happening, maybe potentially in other groups and other areas, or what they maybe should be doing and aren't. But to me, and as I used to be a trainer, certified trainer for ITIL, I never told the people really why they were doing it. I tried to anecdotally tell stories.
There's no time in a 2-day foundation class.
Not even close to that.
No.
You know, but so a lot of us have lived in operations and we've experienced it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the challenge. So, David, anything you want to share with our viewers and our official podcast here?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It was a nice and a pleasant surprise.
Thanks for supporting it.
No, it's great. And,
edition.
Service management works. I have seen countless examples of how service management has improved an organization from the top to the bottom.
Yep.
The problem is, in this day and age, what's happening is people are looking at things as a tool implementation, and they're looking at, in silos or myopically.
Yep.
I think what you have to do is look at service management, as your CEO says, as a practice, as a way of being.
Right.
It's really, the Zen of service management. No, but it's you're not going to get improvements if you can't, take it from that approach. So I think it's really important, as a wrap-up note, service management works, so don't lose the faith, and look for ways to implement it more effectively, more efficiently, and make it sustainable, because that's when you're going to get the real benefits.
David, thank you for all that you do for the industry.
Well, thank you.
Between speaking, sponsoring, and your products. We thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Great to see you.
We have a lot of energy there.
Thank you, Suresh.
Great. So we're going to continue on with the podcast here live. Next, we're going to have on Managed Engine, and they're going to come in and join us now. Avin, is it? All right.
David Bates. David Mainville.
You bring the Managed Engine one in? Hopefully have a seat. Well, Avin, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you know everybody here? Do you know Suresh?
Yeah, I've met them before.
In fact, they've been supporting us for the ITSM of India chapter.
Yes.
When we launched, one of the biggest things that we have a problem is getting a space. And that's where I think vendors play a crucial role in sustenance of ITSMF. And thanks to Managed Engine, they supported us for the not only the giving us a place, but they said they can use the venue for all our ITSMF events in Chennai.
That's great.
So
Thank you very much for that. That's fantastic.
It's always for the community. We want to just contribute something for the community, and we found that though India is one of the biggest market in the ITSM, and there is still awareness. There is no good awareness there. So, and Suresh has been doing a very good job in the ITSM of India board, and we thought, however we can help.
No, that's great. I mean, I think when you come to these conferences and in ITSMF in general, people sort of vendors get a bad name. I mean, which is crazy. I mean, you don't have a conference like this without vendors.
Absolutely not.
How do you fund something like this without vendors? We need you.
Yes.
So you can say, don't go to vendor presentations because it's just all marketing hype, but
the value's there.
The value's there. Yeah. I mean, they're out with customers all the time, so they've got the coalface experience. They've got their consultants out on the job.
I still think we're stuck on this mentality that there are vendors out there who are just trying to sell their goods. And I really think that we're past that.
I do too.
Any vendor that's out there and is spammy and they're attacking your email address, you're blocking them. You're avoiding them at the booth. I mean, they're not getting your attention. So they're going to fail. But if you're involved in the community like you guys are, adding value, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's here today is supporting the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you see the market? I mean, specifically I asked this question because because you're based out of India and you have now got a huge presence across different number of customers. So tell me something about Managed Engine as a product, because we know very popularly Zoho Corp.
Yes.
So if you could just give a perspective.
I think that would be better. So not many of us, many of them know that we are a division of Zoho. Zoho is it's a tall claim, but we actually compete with Microsoft, Google, and in all the business space. We have close to 50 different apps, business apps, and or more than 12 million registered users around the world, just in the Zoho cloud space. And Manage Engine is just a division of Zoho, and we cater to the IT enterprise needs. And we have close to 25 plus products in the Manage Engine space as well. And here our flagship product is Service Desk Plus. And again, the numbers are big. We have 100,000 customers around the world using our product now. 75,000 are free and 25,000 are paid customers. And
that brings up an interesting point that in 640, one of the hot topics was, can you have free lunches? I want to bring that point because it's a very important aspect. People say there's no free lunch.
I would thank Kirsty about it.
That was my blog.
It was actually a funny thing. So we thought, okay, IT help desk should be a commodity, right? Our CEO said we found out a lot of companies still using Excel sheets and spreadsheets to run their IT. So the technology is somewhere else, and we want to encourage small businesses to actually use a quality tool. So we wanted to make help desk commodity, and it's not that we are making it free. We have so much to offer. We have like a better version, upgraded versions, and other products to sell to. So it's not that we are making it free for a generosity cause, but we thought we have more to offer, so just made the base edition free. So we wanted all our analysts to give their opinion on how to write, and Kirsty brought in a very valid point, because today nothing comes for free. So she said there's no such thing as free lunch, and that's true. So we thought, okay, that's the block we have today in the market. Maybe we should tell them there is no catch, and to tell the market that it's absolutely free without any catch. So we gave away free food in the
it's a huge queue.
So they gave free lunch.
Across, and when I came over, it's all sold out. And I said, whoa. It's a very
almost 700 people had lunch, and a lot of vendors had lunch there. It was a great hit, and it got covered in almost every publication, and it's been like 4 months now, 5 months now. The number is we have already crossed 10,000 new customers in the free edition.
That's great, Arvind. I mean, I blogged about Managed Engine a while back as well myself, and my concern is as a corporate buyer, which I've been most of my career. When you look at the sustainability of a product, especially like we just talked about with David Mainville, service management is a way of life. You're embedding a lot of cultural change to it. And the tool matters.
Yes,
right?
It does.
People want a good product. They want something that's going to be innovative. They want to stays with the times. My concern as a corporate buyer is if it's free, how are you getting your top-notch developers to stay so ahead of the market curve to continue giving me value-added product releases without paying them? Obviously, you're paying your people. I mean, I'm sure you're not here for free. You're not here for free, right?
I understand. I'll answer you this question, right? So, Service Desk Plus has 3 editions: the standard, professional, and enterprise, right?
Yes.
And standard edition comes with the incident management, the help desk, ticketing, knowledge base, self-service portal, and everything, right? The enterprise edition comes with all the ITIL process. Will the enterprise edition survive without the standard edition? No. This is the base, right? Everybody needs it. If I have to make money in the enterprise edition, I still have to make changes in my standard edition.
Okay.
So it's going to be evolving. It's going to we are going to add features to it because our enterprise edition wants the best incident management in the market.
So you're seeding the market. What you're doing really, it's not that you're giving it away for free. You're just diverting what you would spend on research and development and marketing funds to give this lower base product out there to get more input, more feedback, more direction that you're going to roll into your overall product base.
It's one way to put out. What I say is, how many small and medium businesses?
Because your enterprise product's not free.
The enterprise product is not free. How many small and medium businesses actually need ITIL functionality? There are, again, as I said, there are product companies who are using Excel sheets and spreadsheets to run their company. I'm just giving them a tool to manage a ticketing system. That's what we are targeting. We are not trying to replace big enterprise with a tool.
But it's okay that you have the hope that those small companies will grow into big companies.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, commercialism is a wonderful thing.
It is.
None of us, we volunteer and then we work. We give our intelligence and our efforts for value, and we exchange for money. That's how it works. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, everybody here is here to make a living.
Absolutely. And to be frank with you, I mean, I think that's also has been the challenge with people, how they view things like ITIL and, COVID's not free.
No.
It's free to use. You can get access to it, and there's a lot of great information provided. But for you to really try to get involved in COVID, set its direction, and you have to be an ISAC member, which has a membership fee, and there are licenses and restrictions on using it. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you see the process and tool integration? And that's a question that we always ask, right? Any tool that I'm talking about a small mid-size segment, okay? They purchase a tool, and we tell that it's ITIL compliant and stuff. But how does it really work in practice? Because they have no clue about ITIL.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So, in my honest opinion, see, the best answer is it depends on every environment, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, people problems has to be kept aside. So, when you want to implement, the tool will only help you in having a better process. End of the day, it lies in the hands of the person or people who are going to follow it.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to follow the process, no matter what tool you use, it's not like a magic wand. It's going to fix problems. You need the people to adapt to the process and follow that. That's when it's going to help.
Yeah,
so no matter what tool it is.
The people part of ITSM, well, the people part of anything is the tough part. No matter what you're trying to change or improve, if you don't get into the hearts and minds of the people you're working with, you're not going to achieve it.
I think that's where consultants play a very important role, where they make sure the process has been implemented.
Yeah.
So the tools helps them implement the process. That's what I would say.
That's why we get mistaken. Consultants have a bad name in the industry.
Sure they do.
And part of the problem is because
some of it's a good reason.
Because if I was behind an organization, I need to sell more. And it doesn't matter which is right or wrong, because I need to sell. So there's a conflict within internally, whether I need to tell the right thing, which is an honest answer, which will just take 2 months, or just take it. How do you handle that? I mean, what's the best way to look at a good consultant in a open? Just get a perspective. What's a good consultant?
Yeah, there's two aspects of what you're consulting on, right? So one there's the organizational change management, and then there's the technology implementation. And I think one of the biggest things that consultants have seen an opportunity in is that the technology piece is usually pretty binary, right? But by getting the focus on that, or overcoming technical challenges and focusing on integration and pulling in more data, it keeps the organization kind of unaware of what the capabilities are of the tool, and it continues to perpetuate the problem. And for consultants, it's actually a good thing, right? So I think you have to look at consultant organizations that have more of a teach to fish, instead of go out and catch fish. And then you also have to look at, are they bringing IP and methodology to the table?
Yeah.
Like there's it's the same thing when you look at buying a tool. Where is their knowledge base? Where is their wiki? Where is their support? If it's not a community-based thing, like you guys do an amazing job on that, right? And that's probably why you have so many tens of thousands of customers, because that shows you that organization is forward-looking and ready to share and bring things looped back in. Incident problem request has been done. There's nothing innovation about that. But when you look at discovery tools, when you look at how that goes into asset management or life cycles of assets, those are innovation opportunities, because now our assets don't always sit physically within our environment. Sometimes they're cloud-based or SaaS-based, virtualized, and those change the dynamics of things. So you do need that knowledge, and you need a product vendor, you need a community around it. That's another thing I look for too with a consultant. Are you involved in the community with your product vendors? If you're a good consulting organization, you are there with partners talking about best practices around the tools.
And that's why Kirsty made a fair point. We tend to ignore vendors as a thing. They do a sales pitch, but invariably they are the people who are going to be talking with the customers day and out in knowing the needs. So ideally, ITSMF, if it's a common forum, should work in partnership with vendors to look at what are the trends. And then we put up a roadmap like a Fusion 14 to look at, because I like this one, we have a beginner track, you have the advanced track and stuff like that. So that we still have a lot of people who are in the beginner's track who want to know what's the basics of service management. That's what Phyllis is actually driving some of the sessions.
Yeah, and ITSMF would not disagree. I mean, I think that we've seen the leadership change on that. Jack Probst's been very vocal about that. Charles Ruho, as we all know, is focused on doing the same thing. It needs to be a tighter community. And there's I don't think it's any coincidence. Jack Probst coming from Pink Elephant, a vendor, right, who has been, frankly, running shows much larger and bigger than Fusion, right? So clearly they have the creds to do that. Now with Charlie, also a vendor and providing a great service to the community with the IT Transformation Institute. Those mindsets are going to be welcomed, both by the members of ITSMF as well as the vendors who are supporting ITSMF. And so there's a shift happening.
Yeah, and even if you see, a lot of vendors here actually encourage all these boards, ITSMF, HCI, Ping. We not just Managed Engine, I can see almost everyone. They work with them in educating our customers, and we recently did a lot of webinars with Charles Aroha, David, and name it, and all the best analysts here. Right? I think it's not just us, and all the vendors here are also actively participating with the analysts and educating the customers. That's the important part, bringing the awareness and bringing the community together. That's the important part.
And you specifically chose Fusion because I know when you said you're going to choose Fusion, what's final message you want to tell about Fusion? And
Fusion has always been a great show. I think it's been like 6 years we have been working with them, and it's been a great show, focused audience, and we are always happy to be here, and it's been great.
Great. Arvind, thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Your support and community.
Thanks for supporting us.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, next up. Who's up next?
Well, you were supposed to be up next.
Yeah, we're going to talk to you, man.
And talk to me.
And get some sponsorship for you.
Thank
you very much,
Oh,
Matt.
wow. I feel so privileged.
So Matt, just to get a perspective, the first time we did a podcast, the ITSM India podcast was with you.
Yeah.
And looking back, it's been a journey by itself.
Yeah.
So you were kind of instrumental in starting the podcast. So how's it changed, and what's your vision for this worldwide podcast? Just to get perspective.
Sure. I mean, let me just fix the camera here. Suresh, when you chill out, we can get you on again. So I started my first ITSM consulting business in 2004. I had left corporate America in 2001, and I joined a consulting company that was doing mostly quality and regression testing, automation tools, performance engineering, and in 2004, I saw all that kind of encompassed under the service management umbrella. And having come from an organization corporate-wise that was very, my chief information officer was a CIPO, Chief Information and Process Officer, in 1997, right? So, I remember him slapping down the IDLE V1 books on my desk and said, Matt, really seriously, if you're going to survive here, you need to read these things, And I was a young guy. I was the youngest manager in the company at 25. I was the youngest director in the company at 27, youngest vice president at 30.
Wow.
And this was a $4.3 billion global company. So, I mean, I had, and for those who may have seen me on ITSM Weekly, I'm not college educated. I finished my associate's degree in marketing, right? So I'm a self-made IT guy. I just, got my MCSE early and was very strong in the process, and always very big on process. So when I became a consultant, I never understood that in my world that people did things differently. I only really knew that everybody filled out what we called at the time an IR, right? An incident request, an incident report, as it was called. When something happened, I didn't know that there were organizations who were not recording their incidents.
Right.
Yeah, it's always a shock when you go into one of those.
It was to me, it just blew my mind, right? And my chief executive at the time for IT, the CIPO, had worked at the OGC, so he was all the ITIL foundations of the why were embedded to him, and it was a fortunate opportunity for me.
Right.
And I loved to train. I loved to teach technically, and I had grown up in tech support and becoming a mentor and training. So when I found out that I could go out and train people on process, to me it was something very exciting. In 2008 is when I started to blog and do video casts, and that's where I started to really find there was a medium to go out there and share things.
Right.
So when Chris Dancy approached me in end of 2009 with Matt Baring to do ITSM Weekly, great opportunity. We had a lot of fun doing it. That was very successful. And then all the other podcasts started showing up because people were saying this is a great thing. We continue on now sort of with that in the Hack Biz Tech podcast, which is going great. It's just shifted away from ITSM a little bit, but we still kind of always go back to it because that's what we love and we do, and we kind of can't help ourselves. So when Shift was started and we started talking about India and we started talking about where to go, I've been wanting to do a U.S. podcast for a long time. I love I feel very much that we live in an attention economy.
We do.
Right, absolutely.
And so if you want to hear something and you want to find out something, you kind of need a library or an index to go to.
Right.
You know, it was cool that you can go listen for an hour about a show and see some guys have fun, and you know, and some of the guys on the show were very entertaining. But it didn't always lead to something I felt like, oh, that was a nugget I could walk away with.
Right.
Yes.
Right? And I feel with your show so far, every time there was a nugget I could walk away with.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want to do for the U.S. Right? I want to make shows where there's a point and purpose for every episode. Because I don't want them to watch. I don't want people to watch every week.
Right.
I want them to go back to the library and say, okay, I am really struggling with knowledge management.
Right.
Yeah.
KCS and right answers and you know the plugins for ServiceNow. It's like how to get my arms around this, and I want to nail it. Hey, here's the principles, here's the ideas, and here's some of the tech.
Right.
And here's some of the use cases.
Right.
And kind of tell the story. And I love to do that, and I think that's what you love to do, and I know Kirsty loves to do.
Definitely.
So I think this is a great start. I think we're going to see more and more communities because a lot of the stories you tell culturally impact your culture.
Absolutely.
And that's more meaningful to your culture than it is always to me.
Right.
So as a Bostonian and an American, I think that there's stories I could tell that would affect the U.S. a little bit more. You know, and as a Kiwi, I think Kirsty will do the same.
Yeah, we're a bit different.
Yeah. So that's why I've been doing this. I love to share. Anybody who knows me and has interacted with me, I give more than I take, and I always feel like the more I give, the more I get.
Yes.
I have never gone without a job. I have never gone without someone. I've never been sick and not had people call me or 15,000 messages on Facebook. It's just, and I'm not the most people person. I'm more. I can stand in front of 300 people and feel very comfortable. One-on-one.
Yeah.
I just, hey, what's up? You know.
So Kirsty, tell me with Shift. How did you want to collaborate? What was your opinion? What was the vision when you talked about this podcast? When it would have been interesting.
we had it sort of evolved when Matt and I sat and talked about it for a long time. What we wanted to do was the idea is to build a community and build something where everyone feels at home. That it's a comfortable place. That there's information available. There's social available. There's and all centered around this whole, not just ITSM, but IT and technology and everything coming together. So I mean it's sort of sat there for a while. It hasn't done as much as either Matt or I wanted it to do to start with, because we're both busy people, but we're really starting to re-energise now and pulling this together with William Goddard at Go-to-Marketers helping us out. Thanks, Will. And that was Will there. And pulling it into Will's come up with a new platform called All Things ITSM.
Great.
And we're going to sort of pick up Shift and incorporate it into this new platform. So
it's exciting.
Yeah, it's really
and
exciting.
It's needed too. I mean, we have seen a deficit, and no offense to the Bright Talk folks and all the people doing Bright Talks. I think they're great. We just talked about the fact of those who are doing sales pitches versus being involved in the community. And that's just become a dumping ground for advertising, in my opinion. You guys seem to agree. So, I really feel like these kind of venues are a perfect opportunity for us to share with the community what we need to do.
I think it will also be beneficial if we're able to get some questions from the actual public on certain topics prior to that. Because what happens is people are looking at nuggets, and they cannot go on read those all core volumes to do that. So if I have a problem with knowledge management, you have to tell me how KCS helps me. Then I can take it out and do it something in my office so that my boss feels me happy and I can get an immediate raise for it.
And that was certainly one of the things that we are really keen to get people involved, to actually engage with the community, not just so that it's a two-way push and pull. We want to make sure that we're getting stuff in. Yeah, that's right. It's a conversation. It's not. We don't want to be sitting here talking at you. We want people to come to us and really engage with the whole community.
One of the things I have in the recent times is there's a lot of initiatives that have started off. It started off with TSF, which is taking service forward. Then we have recently ITIL Manifesto, which is again, it all started with tweets and then people are looking at stuff. So do you see these initiatives being on their own, or do you see that conglomerate with, let's say, with Axelos to see how things are shaping up? What's your take in terms of these initiatives to the betterment of community and practical nature?
I don't know what happens with a lot of these. They start out and there's a big hiss and a roar and everyone gets And
Exciting.
I mean, it's human nature, I suppose, that after that first big push.
SM Congress,
then-
perfect.
Yeah, SM Congress.
Yeah,
Yeah,
SM
exactly.
Congress
Yeah,
was
let's
classic.
throw it on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got very excited about it.
Yep.
Listen, at the end of the day, without a shared vision, without some structure,
Yeah,
it's going to be very hard for anybody to really see something
Yep.
manifest itself.
yeah,
The timing for me right now is great. Since I've joined ISM, they've been in this community for over
Yep.
20 years, actively involved, sharing IP, creating IP, doing a lot. They just never really did it in more of a publicly marketing way. So now this is the perfect opportunity for
Yep.
us to do this.
Yeah.
So it's good. I'm looking forward to successive podcasts
Yep.
and as well as getting the other ones off the ground as well too.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So you're going to come and join us?
We're going to come and join.
Yeah, come
Fantastic.
and join us.
Please join us
Fantastic.
up.
Need some intelligent
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Grab another chair.
Yes.
Yeah, so if can we find another one somewhere? Or?
Here you go, Jason. Throw you in the middle. Jason Fry joins us from BMC.
Hey, hi, Jason. I've followed you for a long time. I've never actually met you face to face.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
My chair
And
is sponsored
everybody
by CA
knows Mr.
Technologies.
Stephen Mann.
Yeah, so just shift yourself
Come on,
a little
Stephen.
bit.
Yeah,
move
come closer.
in.
I can just be a voice.
You just be a voice.
voice.
No, we'll get you. Yeah,
Talking
there you
head.
are. We've got a little bit of your face anyway.
Yeah.
So just
That's more than enough.
Excellent.
Most people can't handle the full face.
yeah.
So Jason, before we jump to you, I think the world wants to know what's happening with Mr. Mann.
Yeah.
Well, the honest answer is I don't really know yet.
Yeah.
So the intention, and it could fail in execution, I work in IT after all,
Yeah.
is that I'm going to, in the main, ghostwrite stuff.
yeah.
But I don't expect anything really to happen until sometime next year.
Yeah.
Not that people would know if I'm ghostwriting anyway.
Yeah, I know. How do you find it? I mean, it's almost like you do this writing, you give it to the world, and then it's got someone else's name on it.
I don't mind as long as
Yeah.
it gets reads.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yep.
the worst thing
Yeah, if
about
it
writing.
doesn't get read.
There's
Yep.
no point writing if nobody reads it. They could read it and disagree with it as long as they read it.
Right. Yeah,
And
no, that's right.
and that's
Yep.
the worst thing. So whether it has my name on it
Yep,
or
or
anyone
someone
else's,
else's.
as
Yep.
long as it's
Yep.
being read, hopefully it's adding some sort of value to the reader. Then, but I
Yep.
don't mind. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be stuff with my name on it, but
Yeah. Yep.
non-competes and things like that can make it difficult. So that's the plan. Just
Yep.
sit there writing, and as you know,
Yes.
I write really quickly. So
Yeah.
Well, you're passionate about it. You like to take the little bit of the cynical view, the little bit of the contrarian view.
I'm not the IT skeptic.
I didn't. Yeah, then the skeptical view is a little bit different than a cynical view.
I like
But-
to think I take more of an honest view or
Yeah.
more of a questioning view.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think sometimes we can get too carried away. With the marketing buzzwords.
Yeah.
Yes.
The statements that, as
Yep.
we're at lunchtime, nothing has happened with ITSM technology in the
Yep.
last 10 years. And you think, you're only saying that
Yep.
because you've got something new.
Yeah. Yes.
New to you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
new to the
Yeah.
company. And you think, that's not right. Let's be
Yeah.
honest about it. That, let's say if you work for BMC, if Joe will do something that's good, I personally would be brave enough
Yeah.
to say,
Yeah.
that's good. That's taking the industry forward. But it's just my view. I don't think we do that. It's probably naive for me to think that we could do that. But I like to think that if you have a really good product, you execute well, you have satisfied, happy customers, then you shouldn't be afraid of acknowledging other vendors and
Yeah.
competition, because you're probably going to win based on your own merits rather than their merits. But I'd say I am naive and simple.
Right. We live in a highly competitive, marketed
We do.
based world.
Yeah.
And the problem with, I think, that, Stephen, is that we live in I say it all the time, we live in an attention economy, right? So CIOs are not going to have the time to do due diligence. They just don't. And they live off sound bites. And I can't blame them for doing that, because I, as a buyer, in my role, I do that as well too. I really have become one of those people.
But I mean, it's probably wrong for me to just pick on a particular statement. But if someone was to say to you, nothing has happened with ITSM tools in in the last 10 years. Nothing innovative has happened.
There's a blatant lie.
Yeah. Well, you put it more politely than I was.
Yeah.
It was a manipulation of the truth, is the way that I would have phrased it. You're not going to trust that person. If you don't trust the person, you're not going to trust the company that they work for. You're probably not going to trust the product they're selling.
That's right.
I do think it's dangerous to over-egg the proverbial pudding.
Yeah.
So
if there's no advancement, we all wouldn't be here this week.
That's right.
There's nothing new to talk about, nothing new to see.
Yeah.
So there's advancement that happens everywhere in these products and solutions. So.
I mean, there's provocative statements like, but I'd put that one as, that's more than a provocative statement. That's just
some
rubbish.
hyperbole is misguided. It does you more harm than good.
It does do you more harm.
I mean, had you joked about it, then you'd have probably got away with it.
Yeah, but a serious statement, when that's made as a serious statement, you just shake your
Do you
head
think
and
that's
say,
also, though, too, that, we are a little bit in a world today where people are looking for the exciting, new, shiny thing, right? It has to be so incredible.
Yeah.
And that brings a point, we have this DevOps conference in San Francisco, and I'm told...
We did, I didn't notice.
I didn't know. But the expected number of turnout in Fusion has reduced because there's because people are looking at something to look forward because they want to be early adopters. It's not that DevOps is something new, but they want to look at, is there something, there's a paradigm shift that they're looking at?
It's I think it's just a new name. And,
it is just a new name for something that's always been there.
And it's really this whole trend around, call it bimodal, call it two-speed IT, call it industrial IT, innovation IT. Everybody's talking about it. And from my perspective, the DevOps side of this, it's on the right-hand side of that fast IT equation. But the thing about fast IT, at some point in time, it becomes mission-critical, mission-central, and it has to move into an industrialized, managed process. You can spin it up fast, drive it fast, but if you don't have a nice way to bring it over and operationalize it for the long term, it's just a science experiment.
And I think, so as a follower and believer in the DevOps movement, I think the lean principles are something that a lot of us have always been going for.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I hate to say this, I don't mean to pick on academics, but those who've been academic about ITSM have introduced the latencies, introduced the red tape. And there's a lot of things that we just don't need. Organizations not focusing on config, for instance. We all talked about, David Mainville asked us, what if two processes we could have, We all three said config, if you notice that.
Absolutely.
So it's just like, why? It's because config gives you the relationship.
Yes.
Every change is not a change that needs to go through a 3-tiered SOX compliance change, right? There are a lot of things that can go like this.
Yep.
And config can drive that for us. It is a foundational way for us to make decisions faster. And at the end of the day, every tool here, BMCs, anybody else's, is a decision-making tool. It's to help us manage. That's why we call it service management, maybe?
And I had a question. Probably I wanted to ask you guys, because the magic quadrant that comes from Gartner, I've just been kind of following across. What's the industry perception on this magic quadrant? Probably you have a fair idea about this over a period of time. So what's been the take now? Has it changed?
You just want me to upset people.
Well, this is good, right? You got one who's
sure you're not a lawyer?
He was just a slip $5 to Felicia.
Right. I mean, the things I have to say is not having access to research in the last month or so. I'm not fully up on how it sits now. The quadrant by itself, I'm not a fan of, but I'm led to believe, is it the critical capabilities document that goes with it, which I haven't seen? If that's what I assume it to be, then I think that makes the Magic Quadrant as a partner document far more applicable and far more valuable.
Yes.
Because my view on the Magic Quadrant has always been that as a vendor, it's great to be on it. That's the win. Being on it is the win. Because you've got, if not necessarily a foot in the door, you've got a foot very close to the door. Right. If you can be in the top 5, you're probably going to be on a short list. If you're in the top position, then you're on the short list and the light is probably glowing around you. So it's great for vendors. Whether it's as good for the people buying from the vendors. Historically, I don't think it's provided enough quality information. And in fairness, you might have a call with Gerard or Chris Matchett or previously Jeff Brooks, and you'd get that information on a one-to-one type scenario. So, it's very hard to judge it out of the context of the wrap that goes around it, whether it be other documents or those one-to-one sessions you get with Gartner or Forrester or EMA or Open or
you
whoever.
have to use it, and as a vendor that's been in the leading part of the quadrant quite a bit of times, if you notice, it says BMC software. It doesn't say Remedy or Footprints or Remedy Force. It's about the company as a whole.
Yeah.
And so I think the way that you use that research, and by the way, not just Gartner research, but anybody's research, you have to look beyond the pretty graphic and understand what's going on and understand your particular organizational requirements. Because if you were a small size company and you just bought based off who's in the Leaders Quadrant, in the Magic Quadrant from Gartner, as much as I think Remedy is a great solution, if you're an organization of 100 people with a small service desk, it was probably a howitzer with a
it's overkill.
Killing. But I think it's using it appropriately, and that's one of the things even you'll hear Gartner say now is you have to use that Magic Quadrant appropriately combined with the critical capabilities.
And having been on the other side of the fence and sat there and spent probably a few days, if not a little bit more, completing the submission for a Magic Quadrant or a Wave or whatever. You know, they take an awful lot of information off you, so they are extremely thorough. You know, you might not necessarily agree with some of the assumptions and weightings and stuff, but awful lot of work goes in to creating those Magic Quadrants. So, again, it's just my opinion. I always thought it was a shame that traditionally that didn't distill down into what ultimately landed in the laps of the people who wanted to invest, and I use that word deliberately, in a new IT service management tool.
So anything you guys want to leave the podcast with from the show about your companies, about your future?
I can't trade really, so well, not excessively, but
Jason,
I'm sure Jason has a lot.
Well, I mean, obviously, orange is the new blue, right? So I think you're going to see a lot of really interesting things out of BMC over the next several weeks, several months, next years. This is about a true tops-down rebranding of the company and a bottoms-up re-architecture and redelivery of technology.
Look forward to seeing.
So I think it's going to be a fun time in the industry for us.
Yeah, your branding police already came and told me, because I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for ISM, that our logo is the old BMC logo.
Yeah, you have to have the new BMC logo.
Have the BMC logo. So I just had these printed. They just released it. I was like 1 week off. I was like, okay. But good. I mean, that's good. It actually looks good. Great booth if you're here.
Thank you.
Let's get live. Yeah. Jason, thank you so much.
We'll trade one fry for another fry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's bring in your dad.
I have an E.
Yeah, he's got an E.
You really know how to make friends, don't you? Not necessarily influence people.
Yeah.
He's been into hardcore marketing.
You get to sit down.
Welcome.
Hello,
Welcome.
How are you both going?
We're
Oh, I know how he's
All right,
going.
we're going to end the show with singing about the wheels on the bus. That was my first time introduced with Malcolm. Was the story, the song.
Yeah. Can you believe people are crazy enough to actually do it?
Yeah.
Wheels on IT were coming off, if I remember. It wasn't a
That's
bus.
right.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
It's 5 years ago.
I must have been a brave kid.
Yeah.
Now I'm grown up, I don't do that.
You don't do that
It
now.
just shows how eager for leadership I was at the time.
Gullible is the word I'd use. But
So you've got a couple speaking sessions here. This
yeah, I've done one already this morning, which was very tiring, getting up at 7 in the morning.
Oh, that's a tough slot, that one, isn't it?
Well, actually, no, I got up before then. I forgot that I had a meeting at 7 o'clock to rehearse for giving the awards away, which is the most bizarre thing. We were rehearsing, passing me an award to pass to the next person.
Yeah.
No dialogue, no nothing. I was really good.
Yeah.
So this morning it was how long's a piece of string,
Yeah.
which was looking at monitoring and measuring.
And did you work that out?
Yeah. Well, it's as big as you wanted it to be. That's the whole gist of metrics.
Yes.
They're as
Yeah.
big as you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
the longer the string, the more you can hang yourself with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the stronger the string, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Punch and Judy show.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow I'm doing CSI, and I'm basing it around the real CSI on TV.
Oh,
Right.
that's a great
Yeah.
spin.
And I
Oh, great.
researched, I found a huge article describing what CSIs actually do in real life. And it's startlingly close to what we would do to eliminate something,
Right.
finding the root
Yes.
cause
Yeah,
and the
root
evidence
cause.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So that's going to be quite interesting, and depending on how it goes, I might have enough time for a bit of 10 minutes networking in there. Get
Right.
talking
Yeah.
to each other.
Get
That's
them
great.
talk.
That's
Yeah.
the plan.
Starting the conversations. And so you and I spoke at Nashville last year, and I thought I don't know what you heard, but I got phenomenal feedback because we started more of an unconference. There were basically four of us.
Yeah.
Malcolm and I were two facilitators.
Yeah.
and we didn't PowerPoint people. We had no PowerPoint.
Yeah.
No.
It was just you and I, and it was more questions and dialogue and conversation.
Yep.
And I still, to this day, have had people tell me that was the best session they've hit out of any of the conferences that they've ever gone to.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think throwing PowerPoint away really sometimes is the best thing you can do, or at the very least reduce it to.
But to make an official confession, I need a few PowerPoints by memory now.
Yeah, but you don't need 100.
But your stories are what's valuable. One of the stories that I stole from you, I don't know how much I owe you because I've used it a lot.
Yeah.
Is the gas station pumps, and how you had an engineer a long time ago who had to be kind of certified to pump your gas into your car.
Yes.
But now through the time, it's self-service. You don't even go inside to pay. You just swipe it at the card, and it's all business-enabled technology. Your big BET buzzword.
Yeah, exactly. And if that BET is not working, then you don't have a business.
That's right.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
and now we've got gas stations without any little shop in the middle at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in some cases it's still going because it's the convenient place to buy stuff.
Yeah.
And in the UK and I guess Australia,
New Zealand,
same difference for this story.
Yeah. Okay. For this story, I'll give you that.
We're still like that little shop.
Yeah.
It's that kind of mentality. We still like that little shop.
Yep.
You can go and get something, But
they say New Zealand's more British than the British, so we like our little shops.
I like New Zealand. That's a lovely place. Yeah, I was watching some nutcases doing some caving on there.
Oh, yeah.
Spelunking.
Spelunking, yeah.
They've got a cave that goes up this mountain and a cave that goes down, and they want to try and find out where they meet.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm just getting... I'm not at all claustrophobic. I didn't think I was till I watched this show. I couldn't be in there. You know, I mean... They were saying that to get to a certain point, in some cases, to get you out, they have to break bones.
Yeah.
Or dislocate bones.
Yeah, I think I know which one it's been. I've been and looked down from the top, but
So what's the looking at this year, Fusion 14 and other stuff? What's the trend looking like in service management? You have seen all the vicissitudes,
I haven't seen over the last 3 or 4 years. The trend to me has been the same. It's been consistent.
Yeah.
More and more technologies are being provided straight to the customer.
Okay.
Not through a sales department or whatever. So via a machine like an ATM.
Right.
I know it's an old one, but like an ATM, or like we're talking about in the gas station. More and more of those technologies. What we're getting now, which is really interesting, is we're getting a kind of reversal because I'm reading that Amazon are going to open some shops.
Yeah.
Microsoft opened some shops a year or so back. Macs have always had shops. And I'm looking around and thinking, what's going on here? And then I find there's 2 or 3 other organisations that are opening shops.
Yeah, starting to go full circle again.
It's really weird, you wouldn't have thought that. But and I think that's kind of an interesting... If that carries on, I mean, there's no prophecy there, but if that carries on, then at the moment you've got all these delivery companies. So you want some shoes, so you order 2 sizes and you check them out and you send one or both back and so on. Well, if Amazon do what I think they're going to do, most of the major towns you'll just be able to take and collect.
Yes.
So that's going to be the main idea. But I give my imagination. Then could you imagine a mall maybe of the future where you get together with some friends and you say, okay, we're going to go and buy some clothes. But you do it all online. I'd like to try that dress on or that shirt on or whatever. And then when you get to the area, let's call it the mall for a minute, you'll have a reserved area where all those clothes will be waiting for you. So they come from different shops and you'll be able to check out those shoes.
Well, the Tesla is a electric car. In New Jersey, you can't have a dealership. You can have the storefront. But I can't go in there and buy a Tesla out of the store. I can only order it online.
You have to order it
I can't
online?
even order it online while I'm standing in the store. I have to step outside of the store. I can stand right outside the door on my iPad and order it for compliance, for the law.
Then you go in
and then I can go in and figure out what else I want.
So
and then it gets delivered and I'm there, right?
Well, that's a secondary effect. The other thing in the last few years, which we talked about that day, has been the whole international law and how law applies to all these circumstances.
Yes.
And we had this Gary, I've forgotten the gentleman's Gary. Anyway, I've forgotten the gentleman's name. He was the one that about 7 or 8 years ago caused a problem at the penthouse.
No.
Not the penthouse. The
Secret Service.
Yeah, the Secret Service. What was it? Pentagon. Or the Pentagon. That was what I was looking for. And he brought the systems down and so on. And he's Gary McKinnon. That's his name.
Yeah, right.
And he admitted from day one, I did it. He's proudly did it because he's a hacker. What ensued was fascinating. It sounds horrible, but it was fascinating. That is, where do you put him on trial?
Yeah.
Because he says, and his lawyers say, well, he committed the crime in England.
Yeah.
What the American authorities are saying is, actually, no, the crime was committed in America. So where do you go? This guy's never been outside England in his life. And if someone wants to extradite him to a country he's never been to stand trial. Now, I could, if someone said to me, make a case of one side or the other, I could do either.
Yeah.
I could make a good case either way. But in fact, it's ended up being staying in England now.
Yeah.
But he's got Asperger's, which is obviously not conducive to putting him on a plane.
No.
But it's same if you rob a bank. Say you rob a bank from England into Germany. Do I go on trial in Germany or do I go on trial in England?
Yeah.
And there's all this international law stuff.
It's changing everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and the compliance regulations, I think, are going to just continually be evolving. And it's a hot field too. I mean, I don't know if I want to be a lawyer, but
No.
So those are my two things. I think the legal side is going to get heavier and heavier, and that security thing is going to get heavier and heavier.
continually. What will you leave our podcasters for the rest of Fusion? What are your big hopes for this event and service management going forward?
Well, the thing that's impressed me here more than anything else is the quality of the software that I'm seeing now is so good.
Yes.
And it's gone past the basic coding. It's now really intuitive and easy to use, easy to understand. So I think that for me, that's been the other thing that I always like about this conference is the atmosphere. Everybody, even though they're competitive, people are getting on with each other, they communicate with each other. The sessions tend to be very good value for money. Because even if the person is a very good presenter, you've got good material. That's the key. As far as I'm concerned, if you can't present very well, if you've got material, I'm happy to sit and listen. What I don't want is a superstar that doesn't have any material.
That's right. Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's what you get. I mean, and I think that needs to be encouraged, big time.
Well, Malcolm, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Yes.
Great to talk to you.
You too, guys.
Thanks.
I'm going to go and have a coffee.
All right.
Or maybe a beer.
It's about that time, isn't it?
Well, Suresh and Kirsty, this has been a great recording.
Yeah, great.
It's been
great first episode for us.
excellent. And I hope our viewers that you have appreciated this. Continue to give us feedback. We're here for you. We're going to continue to put these together based on this feedback, and hopefully we'll get them in the nice rhythm. And we'll see where it goes from here.
So we'll talk to you all again soon.
Yeah, exciting.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Kirsty.
Thanks, mate. That's great.